Welcome back to another episode of Heavy Wireless. And today I have with me Phil Morgan, and we're going to be talking about Wi-Fi 7. No, we're not going to cover all the silly things, the marketing information about Wi-Fi 7 and all the things that are a part of the upgrade. Phil's been spending his time lately upgrading his courseware to be Wi-Fi 7 compatible. He had deep dives into what works and doesn't work and is including it in his courseware. Additionally, we have Phil doing a deep dive at the WLPC in Prague in a few weeks. We're recording this today, and we don't have our iPhones yet. Both Phil and I have ordered new iPhone 16s just so we have something to test with Wi-Fi 7, but we're going to talk about it like we do. So, Phil, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Keith. Pleasure to be here.
You've spent a lot of time upgrading your courseware to work with Wi-Fi 7. What are the high points? I know there's lots of marketing pieces, but what are the things you think are most important about Wi-Fi 7?
Well, I've got to say it's really well thought out, and my job has been made easy because I plugged in the AP, connected my client, and it connected at Wi-Fi 7 functionality. I didn't have to mess around. I didn't have to sacrifice a goat or anything. It was just simply very straightforward. It worked. And I got fast speeds. I got fast throughput. And I was very impressed.
How long have you had a Wi-Fi 7 client to play with?
Oh, I've had my Samsung, I think, I've had it for about a year now. I can't remember if the Samsung S23, that was Wi-Fi 7, I think, wasn't it? Do you remember?
I got the 24 so I could have Wi-Fi 7. So, like most of us, you probably started doing Wi-Fi 7 testing with non-enterprise gear. It always comes out first. There's no surprise there.
Absolutely, yeah.
What was the enterprise Wi-Fi 7 that you started working on?
So I acquired a Netgear access point, and then I got an Ubiquiti access point from WLPC in Phoenix, and I've been doing most of my work on those. Only just got the software release for MLO, which is multi-link operation, on the Ubiquiti. So my testing is very early on in that. Now, the Samsung S24 does MLO, which is very interesting. They're really ahead of the game, Samsung. And I've got to give a shout out to them. I use a tool called Analytics, which was introduced to me by some of the guys at WLPC. And Analytics will break down and show you the SSIDs and the functionality of MLO that is being advertised by the AP. So you can actually see the MLO structure. I haven't successfully got MLO to connect to anything yet, but the vendors are still working on the algorithm and fine-tuning the algorithms. So we'll see. Watch this space. Hopefully at WLPC in Prague, we'll be able to actually do some MLO and do some testing. Now, I have done speed testing and iPerf testing, and it's basically everything they promised. I've hit the 5.7 gigabits connection speed with my Samsung S24, and I managed to get 2.15 gig in an iPerf testing, which is real data throughput.
Which means you also had to have the whole back end to support it as well.
Oh, absolutely. So I couldn't do that testing until I got a 2.5 gigabit switch. And then, of course, I had to get a 2.5 gigabit adapter for my Apple. And I got a 2.5 gig adapter, and I bought an OWC Thunderbolt 10 gig adapter, which it's heavy. It cost a few dollars, but definitely worth it, and it's beautiful. It just runs perfectly. And these run at more than 1 gigabit and allowed me to do the testing, because I didn't want the interface to be the bottleneck. We've got this beautiful Wi-Fi. I wanted to really see how fast we could go. And yeah, I really hit the limit almost immediately.
And as we all know, the fastest you'll ever see Wi-Fi is one AP and one client. But you did break that 1 gig barrier with just off-the-shelf stuff.
Absolutely. Now, I was 320 megahertz channel bonding. I had all the bells and whistles turned on. And when I first connected and it showed that I was at 5.6 gigabits, that was like, wow, this is, and it was very easy to do. Almost instantaneously, it connected. Now, of course, I was 3 feet away from the AP, right?
Well, I mean, if you're going to make it work, you got to, and yeah. I was hoping you might have been in a Faraday cage or something to really make it work. Not all of us can find 320 megahertz channel that's open.
That's going to be a big issue for our friends in Europe. Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, so of all the features that are in Wi-Fi 7, one of the ones that most people are talking about as the most important is MLO. We'll come back to MLO in a minute. What are the other things you think will have value for people who are thinking about perhaps upgrading to Wi-Fi 7?
So I think a lot of the functionality is in the nitty gritty, and Wi-Fi 7, the people that created Wi-Fi 7 have really, really gone out to make it a more efficient protocol. So we can throw acronyms out like multi-RU and QoS, Cisco's Fastlane Plus being brought into quality of service in the Wi-Fi 7. But these are little things that are going to make a big difference in the day-to-day operation of the connectivity of Wi-Fi. And AX, Wi-Fi 6, Wi-Fi 6E started it with the OFDMA protocol, which really optimizes the airtime. And I think Wi-Fi 7 is going to really push this further and re-optimize our airtime when we start using Wi-Fi 7. But of course, the problem is, if we have one Wi-Fi 7 client and 28 Wi-Fi 6 clients, is it going to be that much optimized, or is it going to not be so good? So,
well, at least there'll be Wi-Fi 6E clients. At some point, we'll have a predominance. In the short term, a year ago, it was lucky if you got 5 to 10%. Now we're seeing some I mean, they're not huge numbers yet, but at least the trend's moving that way. And with iPhone 16 now coming out supporting Wi-Fi 7 and 6 gig, this is the second iPhone that supports 6 gig. I think we're getting more and more penetration, and we'll see. I'm guessing after the first of the year, post Christmas, there'll be a lot more client devices that are 6 gig capable, and all 6 gig capable are capable of OFDMA.
Yes, but Wi-Fi 7, remember, optimizes it with multi-RUs for clients. And there's some quality of service enhancements as well. And if you watch the news and read the announcements from the vendors, they're all talking about this wonderful world where we're all going to be walking around with VR goggles on. But most people are like, is it, I read emails, I watch Netflix, how's it going to make my life better? And I actually think it's going to make everybody's life better, especially in dense urban environments, in condominiums, in hotels, in hospitals, where you have a lot of APs gathered close together. And there are some regions of the world, remember, where they have difficulty using some of the DFS channels that we take for granted here in the US. And so in those environments, I think that the benefits of Wi-Fi 7 are really going to show. But again, as we discussed, it's dependent on how many devices can do Wi-Fi 7. And I'm interested to do some testing. And if anybody has any testing about what's the break-even point where Wi-Fi 7 starts becoming better, visibly better in airtime optimization, and it just seems faster.
Well, one of the things that Wi-Fi has always had a problem with, it's the thing we have least of, is airtime. Yeah. And if we can do anything to squeeze more into that same airtime, a little better. Now that we have 6 gig, we've got a whole lot more spectrum to play with. Well, at least in some parts of the world. Some parts of the world still, but even in Europe, it's double what you had before with 5 gig alone. So that double, that's still a really decent thing to be able to offload. But getting clients up there is going to be kind of a pain. Well, you've changed some of your normal courses, CWNP level courses, Cisco courses. And in Prague at WLPC, you have a 6-hour deep dive on Wi-Fi 7. You want to give us a quick teaser on what you might offer there?
Oh, absolutely. We're going to be talking about the theoretical, what does Wi-Fi 7 bring? We want to get that over and done with quickly, and we want to get people actually using Wi-Fi 7. We're going to be taking captures, but it's Europe with one 320 megahertz channel, so we can't have everybody trying to capture on their own APs. We're giving everybody a Wi-Fi 7 AP takeaway with them. So people will get their Wi-Fi 7 AP. We'll do testing and play with the Wi-Fi 7 APs, but I'm probably going to bring pre-captured configurations and PCAP files for them to look at, because I want them to see what I want them to see. But we will be doing live captures, and we will be looking at the operation of Wi-Fi 7. There's a lot that's changed with Wi-Fi 7. A lot of people don't realize this, but the MAC layer has got to change. We now have an upper MAC and a lower MAC with Wi-Fi 7, and it's possible that your client will have more than one MAC address on the Wi-Fi 7 network because of MLO and the interoperation of MLO. So typically you have one MAC address plus one for every MLO connection you have. So you could have 3 MAC addresses very easily, like a 1 upper MAC address and 2 lower MAC addresses. And CWAP is going to be, the CWAP class is going to be great fun. I'm actually teaching a CWAP class this week. We're going to talk about Wi-Fi 7, and this doesn't register with most people, but the security protocols have to change, because when you have a security association with the AP, which MAC address is it going to use? So all of that has been thought out and planned, and it actually uses the higher MAC address, which of course brings out a lot of functionality, a lot of benefits, because you can transition between lower MAC addresses very quickly. So if you move from one frequency band to another, is it a roaming event or is it not? And we'll be talking lots about this in Prague with Wi-Fi 7.
Sounds good. So this brings up something that we've been discussing for at least 10 years of WPC. What device do you use to do the packet captures? And at last year's event, Peter McKenzie gave a presentation on, we can't do this with clients anymore. We need to be doing, because a client can't see all the OFDMA frames. We have to start relying on the APs to give us back this data. So in your deep dive session in Prague, will you be using APs to capture or clients?
Both, actually. I have my trusty old Sidekick too. I use that to do a lot of captures at the moment because it has 4 clients. It's convenient. I also am a proud owner of the bigger Wireless LAN Pi. I forget the official name of it.
Oh,
but
the WLAN Pi Pro, yeah.
The Pro, which I spoke to the guys last year, and I upgraded that very easily to 2 Intel BE200. So that now runs 2 BE200s that can capture 7. But I absolutely agree with what Peter said. It's going to become more and more complex to use clients or tools to capture the infrastructure information. So you can capture a lot of the frame information, the management frame and the control frames, but you won't be able to capture a lot of the magic interchanges that take place because the client may not know what the BE Wi-Fi 7 exchanges are. So then it becomes very important very quickly that you have some kind of infrastructure system that a lot of the vendors offer now, where the AP itself can capture frames that are talking through it. And I just did it a little while ago with my Ubiquiti, where I captured on the Wi-Fi interface, and it not only did it capture traffic that it was sending and receiving from the clients, it also captured other traffic that it could see in the Wi-Fi environment as well on the channel, which I thought was quite fantastic, actually.
Yeah, it's a big step up. We still are almost back to if you remember, Jerry Ola once brought to a conference a laptop with like 12 NICs hanging off of it, trying to capture all the channels at a time. So seeing a roaming event now is even more difficult. Even if you have APs doing the capturing the channel you came from and the channel you're going to, and across multiple RUs that are spread all over. Yeah, it's our troubleshooting jobs are just getting a little more intense.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
But luckily, the base Wi-Fi is still the base Wi-Fi. It's those things we really want to see. They're just a little tougher to get a hold of. Another thing you plan on doing in Prague is having a Wi-Fi testing evening event. What do you have planned for that?
So it's going to bring your devices and let's just have a Wi-Fi 7 fest. We did it in Prague this year. We're going to do speed testing. We're going to do, again, captures. We're going to talk about how we can capture, what are the tools available. We really want people to bring the newest, latest, and greatest devices. I'm going to be there with my Ubiquiti setup, giving the students Ubiquitis as well. I'm kind of hoping that some of the other guys will turn up with like a Ruckus or an Extreme or a Mist or a Meraki or a Cisco. He hinted AP and get some free advertising time, Keith, maybe.
We will talk to those vendors who you mentioned who haven't yet officially announced. So, especially
those vendors, yeah. Come on, guys, and that would be great because we'd love to see how it works. And again, I've captured at 5.7 gigabits. I've done 2.15. It's not going to be a successful evening if we capture at 5.7 and somebody gets 2.25. That's not what we're going for. We want to see how the devices perform. How do they operate? Maybe a more realistic, maybe we'll set up some 80 megahertz and 160 megahertz channels and see what speed tests we get with those.
And with multiple, you have multiple people with multiple clients, different types, and that's more of a real world test. A 320 is not something most of us are going to, at least our enterprise customers won't have that as an option.
In the US and in Europe, we can't because there is only one 320 megahertz channel. So even 160 megahertz channels are really pushing things in Europe.
Well, I have heard vendors say 160 is the new 40, but I don't really believe it.
In America, in the US, I can see, yeah, but if you just do simple maths, it's let's round it up to keep the math simple. It's 5.8 gigabits at 320. So at 160, you can simply half that-ish. And it's going to be about, what is that, 2.7 to the 2.9. So let's just say 3 to keep the math simple. So at 80 megahertz, you got 1.5 gigabits. What the heck are you doing with your iPhone that you need more than 1.5 gigabits of connection speed? Like uncompressed MPEG is like 40 megabytes or something per second. So,
but it's really not that. That's for a single device. Yes. We know that everyone's sharing that frequency. So if we have 20 or 30 clients sharing that, they're getting something that they could actually use. And it still comes down to that. And I'm glad you brought up Wi-Fi 7 and Wi-Fi 6 is in the same realm, that it's about adding efficiency, that we're using the airtime better. We still have co-channel interference. We still have issues that we have to share the frequency. If there's two APs on the channel, they're sharing the capacity. That's just how it works. If they can share cleaner, then we'll all have a little better throughput. Everyone will have more efficient. Each individual will seem like they have a better result. So moving to Wi-Fi 7. I liked your one question you had earlier about how many clients does it take? At what point do we need 20, 30% 6 gig capable clients? Will the Wi-Fi 6E clients that do support OFDMA be enough to help the Wi-Fi 7 clients get some efficiency gains?
That's the key thing, and we don't have those numbers yet. But I got to say that the vendors are really, really doing a great job here. They are optimizing and fine-tuning the algorithms so that the clients and the APs use the protocol to its maximum efficiency. And we're at the start, I think, Keith. I think that maybe in January, we might find that Wi-Fi 7 gives us a certain type of functionality, but within a year or two, we may find that the vendors, both the AP vendors and the client vendors, have optimized their drivers and optimized the functionality, and we are getting even more performance benefit out of Wi-Fi 7. I think I'm very optimistic and positive about this, and I think it's going to be a good time for Wi-Fi ahead. Of course, we still have to be technically backwards compatible with all the B clients in 2.4 gigahertz, right? So maybe we should upgrade from them, Keith. What do you think?
Okay, I just got to ask you, do you really think people should turn Wi-Fi 7 features on in 2.4?
Well,
I know there's a big push there because that's an entire new band that you can use MLO to jump between, and 2.4 has better legs. It goes a little further distance because the antenna hears a little more in 2.4. But do you really want to send clients automatically down into the crowded 2.4 arena?
So I have to be honest now and say that this is talk I've heard from a lot of other vendors. I've done a little bit of testing and I've seen the same thing that they are saying. I am seeing APs bundle 2.4 gigahertz and something else, which is not really anything to shout from the rooftops. When we can bundle 5 and 6 gigahertz together, I think that will be a real game changer. But at the moment, maybe it's because the vendors are being cautious, but a lot of things bundle together 2.4 plus 1. So it may bundle 2.4 and 5, or it may bundle 2.4 and 6. And I've heard a lot of talk about how AX is going to make 2.4 usable again, and how Wi-Fi 7 is going to make 2.4 usable again. But I'm very, very skeptical, Keith. I wonder whether we should leave 2.4 for the IoT people and let them have it. Let Bluetooth and Zigbee rule.
Yeah, I agree with you. They only have one 20 megahertz channel down there that they can move to.
Right.
And so you're picking up 20 megahertz, and I've got an 80 up here. Why don't I just use the 80 more efficiently? But most of the Wi-Fi 7 enterprise APs that have been announced or pre-announced or talked about are all 5.5, 5.6, 6.6s. They're tri-bands, and they allow all sorts of combinations in between.
And the tri-bands, but it was Cisco and I think Mist, in their recent talks was saying that the APs allow it. The clients aren't quite up to speed yet. But again, I'm hoping that will change. So the APs are more than happy to do tri-band MLO, but the clients are like, oh, no, thanks. Let's just do 2.4 and 5. Thank you very much. And so that's what I am seeing in my testing. But again, this is very early days. What we have to remember is Wi-Fi 7 is here, but the BE protocol is not. It is not expected to be ratified, the amendment, until the end of this year. I was talking about it today, and last I looked last week, or the week before, it was like November, October time. The dates on the timeline, the IEEE timeline, says September. So maybe it's done, or it will be announced done very, very soon. We'll have to wait and see. I don't think it's going to change now. So it's just simply a matter of putting the stamp on and making it official. And Wi-Fi 7 is already here. But remember, the Wi-Fi Alliance are working on Wi-Fi 7. Are they calling it Release Candidate 2 or Release 2, which is going to be interesting. And a lot of the MLO stuff isn't in Wi-Fi 7 Release 1. So there's the single radio, and a lot of the advanced multi-radio features were not included in the Wi-Fi 7 original certification. So it's kind of going to be the same as what we look back in time and call it Wave 1 and Wave 2 of N and AC and AX. And it's probably going to be the same.
That you just said Wave 1 and Wave 2, and I got the shudders from... Right. Like we all have PTSD from that cycle that went through. Hopefully it won't be quite so blatant. Well, Phil, thanks for your time today talking about Wi-Fi 7. If any of you are coming to Prague to WLPC, obviously hit up Phil and attend his evening event. Phil, if someone wants to find you and contact you and talk to you, how would the best way they could get a hold of you?
I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Twitter. I'll give you some links that you can post, Keith, if that'd be great. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, we'll put them in the show notes.
You can find me at ncexpert.com. Come to our website, and we have a blog. We have a learning page for introduction to different technologies. I actually have a new website I've just started up called The Wizard of Wi-Fi, wizardofwifi.com. And it talks about my story of upgrading to Wi-Fi 6 and Wi-Fi 7. And of course, I've bought the Wi-Fi 8 and 9 websites already ready for them. And yeah, you can get me through any of those, and I'll give you some links. You can put Keith, and hopefully people can reach out to me. And I would welcome you to come and tell me your experience. How are you finding Wi-Fi 7 where you are? Because I'm sure there's a lot of your listeners, Keith, from South America, Europe, Middle East, Asia, all over the world. And we're not one big happy Wi-Fi family, I'm afraid. We all have our own regional requirements and power levels and channel uses. So it's going to be interesting, but I think it's going to be a good thing. The future of Wi-Fi 7 is going to make us all happier, faster, and hopefully richer, Keith.
Nice conclusion there, Phil. Well, thanks to Phil for a episode talking about Wi-Fi 7, where we are today and where we might be in the near future. This has been another episode of Heavy Wireless, a podcast that's part of the Packet Pushers Podcast Network, and we're glad you joined us today and look forward to talking to you in the future.